the surplus mower that we put out to auction on Auction International. That auction closed Friday, and it got returned. The money we got for the mower is a little bit more than what I was anticipating, so we ended up that's sold for $5,200. So if we can make a motion to approve that, so I can contact the buyer and they can invoice it and go from there.
Anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion. I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mary, did you make it?
I seconded it.
Seconded it.
I made it.
Shannon made it.
Shannon. Shannon. My whisper is to speak up.
All right. It's all
So,
set.
and then the other thing is, the other thing, we'll pertain to the mower real quick, is the new mower should ship hopefully by the end of this week. Last week it went through its factory testing and stuff, so I was told today that it should ship out of the factory at the end of this week, so hopefully we see that within the next week or so. The other thing is, the gentleman who bought the property at the end of Bambi Manor, or Bambi Lane, I should say, where the old Bambi Manor is, he's trying to get a power service down there. Central Hudson wants him to go underground and do an own private service from the last pole, that's the last aerial pole, which is right after where the pavement ends and it's all down the seasonal road. So he's looking for an easement to kind of go down the edge of the seasonal road down to where his property is, so he can have electric service. So as far as there's really no issue with it. It's really not a large area. It's a kind of a narrow area. So I'm going to work with George and come up with some dimensions on what the size of the easement would be for his service and everything.
John, how far does the town road go, that little bridge?
Goes, yeah, just after the little bridge.
Or after?
Yeah. So as of right now, he's using the land for whatever he's using it for. So I'm going to work with George and come up with an easement so we can give him, so he can run. And he's doing it, it's all his cost. He's trenching it, burying it to meet the specs and codes for DOT crossings, for being under the roadway. And he's going to run it all the way down and then dress everything back up if anything's disturbed. So the other thing is the road agreement. So engineering is running a little lag behind on that culvert project that was listed on the road agreement, which was the Schoharie Turnpike project that's at the Hans Vossen Hill. Engineering is hoping to be complete by the end of June, be mid-July. So it took a little longer than I really anticipated. We got a little late start on that. So I want to make some amendments to the road agreement, if there's no objections tonight. Basically what I want to do is keep in the road agreement that we're going to go ahead, we're going to finish the engineering, which we already started. We're going to go ahead and whatever the outcome of the engineering is, purchase of the box culvert, get the purchase, hopefully purchase that by the end of the year. Hopefully it shows up sometime by the end of the year. And then, but we're going to delete everything that involves the installation of it, all the expenditures for installation. And we'll do that project next spring. So basically, in place of that, because we're going to take some money away, we're going to have some money, is I'd like to put forth into the road agreement 2 guardrail update projects that are really in dire need. One gets beat up all the time, just by the winter time, and that's leads Athens Road from the thruway tunnel, the thruway underpass to the top of the campground, and then carrying on leads Athens Road down past Valley Road down to the bottom of the hill there. So we would do that whole section. The cost of that complete project material, we're going to upgrade some of it, but most of it. We're going to go from the W beam to the 6x6 box beam, just because it's going to give us a little bit better durability on it. And that whole project's going to run $55,733 and some change. So if there's the guide rail, we could have it in 2 to 3 weeks, and the contractor's available to have it installed. This is a money out, money in end of it. You know, we had a bump and increase in CHIPS funding through the state this year. Just so you guys count the numbers here. Our chips balance right now going on is 109,500. So we got that big bump, and I'd really like as a superintendent to spend the money, that way we'll spend as much of it as we can, so that when we go next year to the capital, ask them for the same amount back. You know, you can't ask for more money if you don't spend what you had last year. And they gave us a very good increase this year at the state, and you know, the guardrail job really needs to be done anyways. There's some improvements that really need to be made there, so.
How many feet is it? We have a map.
The section coming from the thruway to the campground is 790 feet. And the section going down the other side from Valley Road down to the bottom of the hill is just shy of 300 feet. So some of that runs into, you know, some of the expensive, well, not really, it's all expensive, but, you know, some of the sections is they're upgrading from the standard 5-foot post to 7-foot post, so that if and when someone does brush it, hit it, you know, it doesn't give so easily. There's quite a few of them in there because there's no real shoring behind.
How are we gonna handle rock? Like, so we don't hit it even though we know we're going to?
Well, I think on Leeds Athens, I think we're gonna be fine. I think you're gonna find out a lot of that over from the edge of the road out. A lot of that's just fill, especially going down to the other side, Joe Heim's house. I think a lot of it's gonna be fill because car hits that guardrail, the whole guardrail. So that's why he wants to try and get it. I think we'll be fine as far as rock goes. But he did add a couple extra posts just to go through it. I mean, right now that section going up the hill is a lot of just train rail.
How long is this price good for? Because I know steel goes up like 5% every 3 days.
If I make contact with Chemung tomorrow, you know, we're good. He's on. It's all, and everything, all that work's going to be done through the county highway contract. So the purchase of the equipment's all through county highways contract that they do, which will come from Chemung Supply, and then Litchfield Construction will do the install, and that's all county worked. We'll assist them as far as flagging, moving the rail from our yard out to the job when they need it, and helping them lay it out. But
You guys help put it together too, or is it Litchfield and 2 guys come in?
Litchfield and 2 guys do that. We're just going to set the rail out for him, get rid of the old rail while he's taking it down, so that we don't try not to leave the road, you know, open overnight.
All right, I think it's a good project. It's something I want to do for a while.
Yeah.
So, does anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so good, we can listen to that number.
All right, sounds good. Call tomorrow. Any other
All right.
questions? If not, I'm good.
All right, thanks, John.
Yep, thanks.
All right. Now the judges are up.
When we all sit at the table up front there?
Yeah, that's fine. That way we don't have to yell.
Start the acquisition. How are you? Good. So as the board knows, we've gone through the process of interviewing for the Athens court clerk. And we've come to a decision on looking to hire Ruth Whittinger. And we found that her experience in multiple courts in Columbia County made her shine up and above the other candidates. So at this time, I would like to introduce her to it. She can give a brief little description of what she did for the other courts, and I'm sure you all can feel confident that she'll be able to do the same here in Athens.
My career as a court clerk started January 1st of 2000. I've been in the town of Ingram for 22 years. I've been in the town of Kinderhook for, this is my 4th year. Town of Ankrum was a small little schoolhouse, two-room schoolhouse. We moved out of there and into a brand-new modern building in 2008, I think it was. So we got everything down pat to records management, to all the computer software. I keep a lot of different charts and statistics using Excel. I told Judge Mercer whatever he needed to figure out, just let me know what he wanted, how he wanted it, and I could figure that out for him. Very well versed in all kind of computer programming and Microsoft Office. Ankrum is a very small court. Kinderhook is a lot bigger. Tomorrow night I have court in Kinderhook with 160 traffic tickets. Trying to dig out from underneath COVID-19, yeah. You know, as long as you don't let it run you over, you're good to go.
I had to go to kindergarten town court one time. I was there all night.
Oh, you had Judge Delahunt then?
Oh, God, this was probably about 7 or 8 years ago
I was gonna say,
now.
you're not that old, so what is that, you must be.
No.
Just a kid.
The interesting thing for working for Kinderhook is that also in the court is the lead District 3 court judge for our entire District 3, which encompasses numerous counties and such. So in that office, in that court, it's, I'm going to say, very pressure intense of doing it by the unified court system, and there's no deviation. So I found that experience very enlightening to have in our court. Not that we didn't have it before, but we're looking to bring Ruth in on the 14th, next Monday, and she'll be able to fire up the computer, turn on the court program, and be able to help Marsha out instantly. There's going to be some acclimation time just on some procedural things that we might do a little different between her two courts.
Sometimes I have problems acclimating to where I am, so it's always good morning, town court. Rather than confuse anybody and myself. But
The judges are fairly confident that we've found a good replacement, and I think in the email I sent to everybody was some of the pay information. And that's pretty much where we are today. We're looking for you to give the blessing and get somebody in, and that's by next Monday. So.
I'm excited.
I mean, just for the simple fact that you're going to be pretty much able to just jump right in, and there's not going to be, withdrawal or anything like that, and unlocking it was great.
I mean, not that I don't need training, we can always learn something new, but I think between just talking with Marsha, there's things that I do that she likes the idea of, some of the things that she does that I like the idea of, so you may see some changes in the courts in Columbia County.
Well, I mean, that's where teamwork comes in too, so it's huge.
So, yeah, I think we can,
Well, without discussing the salary, I mean, because I don't want to do that in the open here. I mean, I don't have any questions. We still have some issues we have to straighten out on our end to relate to the rest of the conditions, not conditions, but, benefits of working here. They need to be addressed. So, I'd like you to start, but we have to meet with our attorney, and then we're going to have another meeting before we can get that completely ironed out, but we will have it taken care of sooner rather than later. So, I want to make sure she's protected and covered, regardless if we just do single now, just while she starts, until we figure out what's going on. That way you're just covered. But I have no issues. I don't know if anybody else has questions or.
Would that be after the 21st, the meeting?
Our meeting would be the 21st unless we had a special meeting, but to get that set up, we have to meet with the attorney first, and we have to have a notice for a week because it's not an emergency, it's just a special meeting. Well, without discussing pay rate, I mean, we did receive an email. Is everybody content with the value that was put in there?
Yes.
It was the upper end of our item.
Mhm.
All right.
So what are we gonna do, wait here? We're gonna wait
We
till-
can't discuss it.
To go through some suffrage.
Something else. Still higher.
Is she gonna start before that, or what?
14th.
On the
On
14th?
the 14th.
Okay.
Right.
So, all right, so let's make a motion on that to go with the number that was discussed earlier in our emails.
I make the motion that we hire Ruth Whitlinger with the amount that we had originally agreed upon and to start June 14th.
And Donna, we discussed that she would meet with you.
Any morning except this week, Wednesday, but I'm available tomorrow, Thursday, and then, not that I like to advertise it, but I am here on the weekends. And then again, Monday, next week is gonna be easier, because, so, but any morning that you can, just the main number at the town hall, and I'm extension 3 for, it says characters, and that's me.
So, Mary made the motion.
I make the motion.
I will second.
All right, Shannon, second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, so start on the 14th.
Thank you very
Don,
much.
all your paperwork in order?
Yep.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Don, before I let you go, I'm gonna let Mr. Satterley go here, talk about comprehensive plan for a few minutes.
As you're aware, I was on the joint town-village comprehensive plan review, which had been reviewed since 2007. Since that was passed, the village formed the implementation committee to prioritize and move the process forward, so the plan doesn't gain a lot of dust. I was asked to be on that committee, kind of as a representative from the town, along with Laura Wolf, who also lives in the town, and also is from Sleepy Hollow. We've just started to kind of begin to prioritize and move forward. But one thing that we've pretty well decided is we need to involve the community in the implementation of the plan. And one thing that needs to be done is the plan needs to be readily accessible to the community, either through the website, some hard copies scattered around the town, so that people are aware of the plan and its importance as we move into the future. Both the town and the village board need to be proactive, I think, in this whole process. And one way possibly is to have some joint meetings to discuss common goals, which might be able to be achieved. There may be some things that basically are village, some things that may be basically town, but there are some things which overlap both areas. With code enforcement, with economic development, with grants, with waterfront development, and other things. There's a lot of things that, overlap, or we could, at least so that both parties know what's going on and are able to work together on it. We haven't really decided what should be kind of on the top of the list, although the village has a couple of ideas. But we're looking for possibly something which maybe have what we call a quick win, where something can be accomplished so the community can say, oh, this wasn't for naught, something is being done. We can move forward, we can get some things accomplished, in which will, I think, begin to snowball and things just, take a life of their own. There needs to be, I think, some positive interaction between the town and the village.
I'm surprised, for example, we went with a new local business and we're talking to the proprietor, and they said, well, we deliver. I said, okay, deliver how far? Yeah, in the town of Athens. Well, I live out past the thruway. That's part of the town? Yeah. Oh, yes, it is. It is. So some things like that can be brought out. Because in the comprehensive plan, there's lots of maps and descriptions where if people take the time to look at it, they can see the breadth of the town and what it has to offer. The village is looking to upgrade some of the programs that they've done in the past relating to waterfront development, capital projects, and so forth. And the town has property, or there is town property on the waterfront, so that concerns the town as well. So I guess I just kind of wanted to bring you a little bit up to date of where we are. We just sort of started this process with a couple of meetings, and be having more, and just like to get the town involved and aware, and give me your concerns, your comments, things that we could work on, and what you think might be really top priority. Maybe what can we do for an easy win, to show people that we are really trying to do something to move forward for everybody. So anybody have any questions, comments?
Tom, when do you meet? When do you meet?
Beginning of the month, I think it's the, let's see, it's a Tuesday. I think it's the first Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
We've had 2 meetings via Zoom, but I think we're going to try to get an in-person.
Can I give you my email?
Yeah, let me have your email, and I'll email you when our next meeting is.
I think the biggest thing, and I've mentioned it before, is that there really needs to be a clear definition of where the village stops and the town starts, like you said, because a lot of the things that were mentioned in that plan have to do with the village.
Right.
And a good portion of the ones that had to do with the town, it's because people didn't quite understand where the boundaries were and who was responsible for what. They talk about town roads, and then they go in and talk about 2nd Street, 385, Union
right.
Street, Verde Street.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing that I think, has to get out there, is people have to know exactly where each government line is.
Right. Along with that, I think that, between the two boards, if we had some communication or meetings between a joint meeting or kind of a public meeting to, say, get some of this information out.
Yeah, I have to, because I know when Josh sent the plan the last 2 times, it was on something that expired after a while. It wasn't a direct link, but so after like 30 days you couldn't access it. So I had him send it again. So if we could get it in a copy that we can put on our website that doesn't go out of date, that would be a big help.
Yeah, I think we'll have to get a hold of Nan to get us a hard copy or a copy to put it on the website. Yeah.
I don't have anything right now, but you have my email address, so let me know when that meeting is too.
Okay.
And how many people are on that board right now?
I think there's, I'd say 9.
Okay. So anybody have anything else for Tom? All right, just shoot me an email.
Okay.
Email, and we'll do what we can to attend the next one. And, bring back any ideas or concerns.
Okay.
All right.
Todd Bernard is the chair of that committee.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Yeah. So get that and bring back anything that we talked about to the board and just let them know.
Okay.
Again, I don't think there's too much in there that really impacts the town as a whole, but better to have it done than not. All right, so then I guess we will move on to Don. We're up.
Okay. Just going in order of the agenda. The first item is Sickler, Torsia, Allen, and Churchill. We're looking to retain this CPA firm primarily in light of the excellent work they did on the AUD for 2020. Also, we have cleaned up the balance sheet, was formerly just not attended to except for cash. Now the entire instrument is perfect. Does anybody need copies of the proposals? It's basically a proposal for the year ending 2021 and 2022 for continuity sake. In addition to that, this year we want to examine, you're supposed to do departmental reviews every year basically, different ones. So this year we're going to look at procedures for tax collection and town clerk. Next year will be court. The following year will be another department. But anyway, otherwise I just would look, we can do all three of these items in one motion. In other words, there is the general accounting and review that goes with the AUD, and then there's two departmentals. Each of them have their own, I have copies here if anybody wants them or needs them. Otherwise, it's just a motion and a second.
Anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion, we accept that.
Stack. Yeah, the mnemonic for them is called Stack.
That's it, stack?
Yeah.
Stack.
I'll
For a
second.
second?
I'll second.
Like second.
Okay.
Any discussion?
That was Tyler.
All in favor?
Right.
Aye.
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 Opposed? Done. Down, you're done. I need your pen.
What's that?
I need your pen so I can sign this.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you want me to do the pencil. Yeah.
The next item is this is just an introduction. The main title of this, the reference for this project is Systematic Evaluation of Mary's Wedding Cakes. That's not true. It's the systematic evaluation of taxable assessed value. The state requires, and reval is a bad word, that's not exactly what we're talking about here. This is a special kind of analysis where we now have a void due to the passing of Mr. Hilbert. And so we are in the process of getting pricing. I have copies here for everyone, but you should have gotten them in your boxes as well. This is just an introduction for tonight, but and you'll see the letter in front largely comes from my interview with the town assessor. So that's 2 pages, and then the rest of it is a proposed contract for the services. I will have another contract for services probably by the end of this week, if not Monday next, and I will get that to you as well. So you'll have 2 to look at a minimum. And but these are professional services, so they technically don't have to be bid. So again, this is just an introduction, and then we'll deal with it at the next board meeting. Does anybody need copies? Okay. Do you need this? Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've had numerous discussions with both my liaison, but primarily with the supervisor. We have issues where there is conflicting language within the handbook, and there are sections of the handbook that no longer apply. So I have identified a minimum of 9 articles in the handbook that have to be edited. We refer to it as strike through and underline, and not everybody refers to it that way, but you strike through the old language and you underline the new language. I have to work that out with the town attorney. It's just a style, it makes it easier to read. But we need to take out what no longer applies, and then we're also going to have to discuss this in some fashion. The board can't just, I think John brought up a good point earlier. I need to, once we've identified changes, I need to make all the department heads aware of this, so that they can, interpret with their staff. But let me just be clear, this does not affect the highway, because that's a separate contract. So I was asking the supervisor for permission to be able to start periodic meetings with George this week, and we'll just go through all these articles, and if we find any others, we'll review them at the same time. It shouldn't take that long, but to be honest, we've been kicking this can down the road for the whole time I've been here. We have to deal with it once and for all. So that too is basically just, I need a motion and a second for permission to meet with George, but primarily it's just an introduction of the formality of going through this process. Oh, maybe not.
Yeah.
No, as long as it's okay with you.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, all right. Okay, good. Okay. Permit fees. These, I worked with Albert to begin with. Albert also worked with Mike on this, and I also interfaced with the supervisor on this as well. And does anybody need copies of the spreadsheets? I have them. So,
No.
Give me one.
You haven't changed this since the other day, right?
no,
No changes.
no, but okay, so basically, you're going to see that the original, well, the first column, which is column 2, those are that's the current pricing for the various categories within code enforcement. And, Albert and I have discussed this many times. He sees the need to increase the fees. And the obvious part about it is revenue generation. We need to find more revenue, and for good reason. The second column was the first couple of meetings that Albert had, and so they made some changes. The third column clearly is more aggressive, but that is the way to generate meaningful revenue, especially in this climate that we're in right now. The only thing that people were concerned about, because I've spoken with a couple of board members about this already, is the residential building permit fees. They basically are not changing. It's just a different approach. I asked Albert to test this, and he did, and it came out virtually the same. So based on that analysis, that's the only residential permit fees was the only one that I had concern about, that the public might be somewhat concerned about. It's not a matter of trying to blindly, take advantage. But if anybody's bought gas, groceries, or lumber lately, they understand what's going on. So this is another item that we've been talking about for some months, am I correct, Rob? Okay, so if anybody, unless anyone has a suggestion, and what I mean by that is, I really think that column 3 is more realistic. But if any one particular number in that column is offensive to the board or presents other concerns, we can change it before you vote on it. Just tell me, I'll record it, and it'll be in the official copy.
Will this vote occur tonight, or do we have a chance to go over this until the next meeting?
It's not over.
And then we can make our changes before the next meeting?
It's not going to occur tonight.
It's the will of the board, of course, but the supervisor is correct. This is not new. This has been around for months. And I'm just saying,
Some of these fees
Don?
are different.
yeah,
So this first column, permit.
is the current.
No, that's not the current one, that's the new proposal. The first
Wait.
column for the residential permits?
The middle column.
No, the first column. sorry.
Yeah, the first
The
column
20 to
is
50,
a new
yes.
approach.
And
That's
that-
correct.
And we
The
vote on this
former
now,
was just-
that's gonna go in there, right?
Right, the former
Right.
was just the price per square foot, and I think it was 35, Albert
No,
said.
this is better to determine something, this,
This
50
one
square
here?
footage. Yeah,
It's better than this one.
yeah. I think it works better. Right, Rob?
Yeah, there's no calculation involved.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If the person says,
Flat fee.
whether they build a $150,000 house or $199,999 house, they're paying the same fee. And that fee that you're paying is the original building percentage applied to the highest number in that group. So, it's just a way to not have to do calculations, and then
It's more straightforward.
we're not going to rely on the homeowner who's building the house to tell us the cost of the house.
Well, I know, because so is these prices here are what is determined by the assessor?
Yeah, because when they build a house, they're going to call and try to find out what their taxes are. They're going
Right.
to give a base idea what their house is, and then she'll give them an idea, but then typically they'll go back, oh, it's only going to cost me $100,000, It's a $250,000 house,
Yeah.
It's going to cost you
Yeah.
more than that. And, a lot of those fees aren't really changing. The other ones have gone up, but if we have our code enforcer needs to go out and look at the same foundation multiple times,
Yeah.
we're losing money.
Right.
It's,
Which is on a
And I'm
bigger
sure he
house where
doesn't-
you calculate it differently.
Right.
Yeah, right.
So,
Also, Albert had mentioned to me, it's been a long time since any of these fees had been increased. I mean, as in many years. As a matter of fact, he wasn't sure, since he's been
it
here.
hasn't been done since he's been here.
This is the
Yeah.
way it was with Georgia. Rob, the 50 cents, they're still gonna put we got the either or thing. If they got a house that's 4,000 square feet and they say it's costing $150,000 to build, he needs the ulterior motive, like the 50 cents per square foot to come up with a true figure.
Right, and that's, it says down here, anything over 250,000 will be 1/2 of 1%.
No, but what I'm saying is, if he says it's 150,000 and it's a 400 square foot house,
Oh.
he's gotta use another, somebody's not telling the truth.
Right,
You know what I
but
mean?
he can say whatever he wants, it's gonna
Yeah.
go to the assessor, who's gonna have the final say,
Oh, yeah.
because she's gonna assign a dollar.
No, but
value
to
to it.
come up with his permit fee,
Oh.
some people wanna keep their permit fee lower too.
Well, yeah, but they're not gonna be able to.
Yeah, well, he could use the 50 cents then if he doesn't think they're telling the truth, you know what I
Well,
mean?
I got your saying.
You
Yeah.
got it.
So. All right,
All right, good. I mean,
so I guess my only question is if we include any new groups or subgroups, if they have to be done by local law, if we can just change that.
George has had this,
This.
but there are,
This.
on the second page, you see it, and down the bottom, interior renovations,
Okay.
wood stoves and generators. We don't have a current fee for them. Also, pre-built sheds, above-ground pool, in-ground pool. It's done on a value
Yeah.
basis, I guess. I can say, I don't mean, I mean, he's here, but Mr. Brand has been effective in that the data collection brings a lot of these things to the surface. He reports to the assessor, and there are changes, they're still putting in changes from the village. And they're just now starting the town, so it's the same process. So these are all positive things. Where it's, not that it's necessarily related, but where this all leads to, this effort, along with the systematic evaluation we mentioned earlier, it's about equity among property classes. And the town assessor will be here at the next meeting to go over and explain that in more detail. But that cover letter, a lot of my information came from her there, when you read that. But getting back to this, well, Rob, you want me to just confirm with George tomorrow about the local law, or we could pass it conditioned?
Yeah, talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right, so does anybody want to make a motion to
I will.
accept? All right, so is there a second? Oh, yeah, it's right here.
I thought I heard Mary say, did you second?
I'll second it. So is there any discussion?
Don, just one quick question. Just so I know, like, where are these prices at comparable to like what other towns are?
Albert did the basic due diligence. We got pricing from 5 or 6 municipalities, all in the area, close. That's where a lot of it came from. And then, of course, he met with the supervisor probably as many times as I have. So that's how it all
Well, yeah, I know
came
you
to
guys
full
were working on
circle.
it, so I was just curious.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, I got a
we're
question.
compatible.
I can't say, I gotta tell you why, because, we're just starting to come out of this COVID stuff. We're talking about a lot of money right now, and a lot of this stuff is really very high. So, with due respect, I'm just gonna.
I understand.
Well, we have first and a second. So right now it's 2-1, so Shannon and Mary are left.
What was that?
Mike and Ron made the motion,
Yes.
and there are 2 people that are yet to vote.
I'm an aye.
All right.
Shannon's an aye. What do you think, Mary?
Okay, all right.
All right. Mary said Mary's aye.
So 4-1.
Just to make a statement, this is pretty compatible with all the
With
other
all-
towns and villages. I know Albert did a lot of research, and
Yeah.
town of Catskill is a lot higher than some of these things, so basically, we're within everything anyway, so. Somebody's building in Catskill or building in Athens, they're still in the same kind of.
All right. Next up, we have the court clerk who resigned her position, put in for 64 and a half hours.
Correct.
And I told Don to pay 60, because that's what the hours are. So I guess the question is, do we want to pay her for the balance of the 4.5 hours or not? I mean, it does go against our employee manual, but
Well, can I make the motion that we pay her 4.5 hours? She's gone, she's not here no more. It's all over.
What I would think, if, I would be in agreement to pay it, just to end it, rather than get an attorney or whatever, go through, just to end it. But I think it should be in writing what the conditions are then going forward, like if you work over, you have to do this, X, Y, Z, whatever. It should be in writing in the minutes, so there's never a confusion.
Mary, you're right, and I must tell you that Rob has always been very clear with me. It's just that there was a request, but the minutes do not bear that discussion out. And I couldn't tell what, if anything, if there even was a response, a formal board response. So, you know, it's just, we're just doing this expediently.
Because I was under the impression it was supposed to be, you know, an hour or two, so.
Right.
But I second the motion just to pay it and move forward on it.
All right, so obviously we'll open it up for discussion. Tony already made his view, Mary made hers. I mean, I agree with Mary and Tony. I think we should pay it just to be done with it, but, you know, when you have an employee that nickels and dimes you to death for every single thing they can, to walk away with 4.5 hours compared to what you walk away with, it's a slap in the face, so.
Yeah, but all the time she took off, wasn't it all legal?
Yeah, but that's not the, that's not the question. The question is the 4.5 hours.
She wasn't supposed to.
Can I ask,
Well,
for-
there's a,
can I ask for 2 minutes to just discuss this and get so forth?
Well, I think it's gonna be over here in a minute anyways. I think it's gonna get paid. So,
All I want, as the person who authorized the hours for me to be paid, I'd like to just put in, because I know what we've asked for, and if we have a recording of the Zoom meeting in March, you can hear the board members agreeing that we were allowed to put in for additional hours to pick up the court time due to COVID. I strongly believe it. My other clerk was witness to the meeting, and the other judge was. So if we can have, I would like to hear the court with regards to what we did and what I did.
well,
That's where I have a problem. Whatever V's situation was with the situation is immaterial. What we got approved to do, and I'm going to say I got approved, and I'm not going to point to, I heard the board members say it was okay to work additional hours, 2 or 3 hours, and she put in for 4.5. That's what bothers me about the whole process.
Well,
If we can produce the Zoom meeting,
Well,
we
what bothers me-
will definitely hear it.
what bothers me is the fact that she didn't work every single day those last 2 weeks.
She was entitled to it. I agree with
Okay,
you, but she was
that's fine.
entitled to it as a public employee for
Exactly.
benefits. She worked
Exactly.
24 years. I'm not saying what she did was right, but if she was entitled to it, she was entitled to it.
Exactly, but she's not entitled to this. But
She
there's-
was because I authorized it.
Well, that
Based
doesn't-
on my
but that's-
assumption from the board.
That's
That's
not the way it goes. It's not the way
Okay,
it's, so, I mean, that's not the way
I
it's.
totally agree. Let's get this
So-
over with and move on. And if we would like to have it documented, we still, one other thing, Marcia's had additional hours, I believe. No
Yeah.
questions been asked.
No, it was approved. I went to the supervisor.
When? Prior to me
But
leaving,
this
this
is-
is an immaterial, this is.
Yeah, but we have special
But
circumstances.
it's not right.
No,
Well,
it's not the same.
the thing is, we set, this board sets the court hours.
Correct.
We set, and you guys, as the judges, just like any other department, you authorize when the hours are to be worked within those parameters.
Absolutely.
So, nobody remembers it that way.
Do we have a recording of this?
I probably have it on my computer,
Okay.
I have to look.
Could you
Because
do
I
that?
do delete them after so long,
Okay.
but they may be on our server. And I was gonna do that today, I just didn't get a chance. But, I mean, well, let's just vote on this to see how it goes first.
yeah.
So it's,
I
right
mean-
now, it's 2-1. It's Jen and Mike are left.
Oh, I'm in agreement just to get it done and
Just
over
get it
with.
over with.
And then moving forward, this needs to be discussed more coherently for everybody to understand. And that it's clear.
There you go, 4-1. I did,
Well,
Oh, okay.
absolutely, I
No.
was precedent. So next up is
Next up,
Delaware Engineering.
no, next up, oh, yes, correct. Does anyone need copies of the final proposed contract for services, along with a copy of the resolution?
So can they give us any indication on how much the design is gonna cost?
Well, this is just going to really address task 1, 2, and 3 as part of phase 1. And that number is 17,500, and it's in line with, and I discussed this with George, because although he had a different company, he just went through this up in the town of Clemens.
Now, is this a simple resolution or a simple?
Yeah. So in a sense, the board already hired them.
Right.
This is, you can't proceed without a contract. Does anybody else need copies down here?
No, I have.
Okay. You good?
I got mine. That's read it to us.
But now, according to this, phase 2 and phase 3 will be amended. Right. To include this. So we have to make sure that everything that is written in this makes it into phase 2.
Right, but we're not going to pay twice. In other words,
I understand that, but all the
Right.
conditions, because I know everybody did not read those conditions in the back.
right.
Nobody reads these conditions,
I did.
all right?
You told me to. I did.
We bid $60 million in DOT work every year. We don't read all these conditions. Sometimes it likes us, sometimes it doesn't. But, you know, it needs to be clear.
Right. But again, this is only for phase, the contract is the contract. And the contract, as you know, could be amended over time for different things, whether it's, you hope it doesn't happen, but change orders would be one example. But this is the next step in the process to get this passed, but the liability in this is phase 1 only, tasks 1, 2, and 3. Now, task 4 is optional, but the town attorney recommended to Mike and I that we have them here, and they agree to do that 3 times during this process. And they'll gladly add more visits if the board wants them. But the cost of that is $2,500. So what we're looking at for this year is $17,500, and we have a budget line item for this.
Okay, with all this said.
So does somebody
I'll
want to make a motion for that?
Okay, I'll word it down.
No, I got one.
Well, I was saying, let's make a motion, because I thought I was reading me. I don't know.
I'll make that motion.
I think Tony made it.
Tony made it.
Okay.
Couldn't hear him.
Mike, you're seconding?
Yeah, I can't hear him.
Okay, so it's Tony and Mike.
I read it already.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. And I'd like to make a note that when we do the public engagement, we have an engineer here.
Correct. I already communicated that. They'll probably both be here, but...
Well, we're not gonna pay extra to have her here as well as the engineer.
Right. Well, the price is set for that first phase.
You would think.
All right, boss, the last thing I have is, actually, I have two things. The next thing is the ambulance contract. We've kicked this around, and as you know, you had asked me to contact Supervisor Finch. Mike and I did. We had like a little phone conference with him. He did not get back to us until after I left for the day on Friday. And what he sent were these statistics. So I'm going to hand these out real quick. I did email these, but,
Do you ever give us an itemized list on this?
well, you have to go through this carefully and you'll see.
But what he gave us is all for 2020, right?
Correct, because because 21 is not a full year yet.
Well, no, I understand that, but we agreed to the contract in 19, so.
We're gonna wait on this.
Oh, yeah, that's the last thing I
Yeah.
have. Sorry. Did you give me this?
Yeah, we
Okay.
just gave this to you. This is here. Oh, this is the walls?
I haven't spent enough time going over this afternoon, to be honest, but I'm happy to study it more and then make some more marks. When Rob received some estimates from Supervisor Finch, I simply put those in the proposed, not proposed, but in the tentative budget.
Yeah.
It is a big increase that they're looking for. I don't know if you remember, 2 years ago it was 98 or 96, and now we're going to 102 this year, and next year they want 112. It's an issue. And I asked to look at the books with Mike, and somehow I get statistics.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
this is what we got last time. This
Yeah,
is,
This is nothing.
this is nothing.
I don't even.
So, set a meeting up. I
Okay.
can't do Monday or Tuesday, I got payroll to do.
Yes, I mentioned I forget what I told you. Oh, the 14th and the 15th.
Yeah, which is Monday and Tuesday, actually.
Oh, so Tuesday maybe, or no?
Tuesday afternoon, I do it Tuesday
Yeah.
afternoon, Tuesday morning.
Okay,
Or I gotta finish payroll.
I can hang around.
All right. Get a hold of him and we'll go down there. I'll meet you down there.
All right.
So Tuesday, 15th.
All right.
All right, that's all I have on the agenda. Does any board members have anything else?
I gave these to Linda, but I have these, it's small potatoes, the budget transfers.
Here, I have one.
Oh, yeah, here they are. Anybody need copies? Oh, the worksheet should be underneath that.
Yes.
Okay. Most of this, like I said, it's optimum to do this twice a year. Once now, you have that? Okay.
I have one.
You got it? You good, Mike? All right. So, you can see the worksheet below. A resolution is just a simple item, but it's mostly office supplies and postage. There's dues and subs because that's combined because of the way New York State did their encoding. It's nothing, it's just not, we're not picking on anybody here. We're just, we see the trends in postage. The departments used to buy stamps, but we stopped that practice. So now we're doing it through the machine, and we need additional funds, so we're adding 500 to a number of those accounts. Copy paper for all departments is another item. It's a centralized item. Judgment and claims, we normally don't see much there, but last year we did, and I expect more this year. Social Security,